So now I've got to point out that unknowingly, something I didn't know while I was being brainwashed by it, was that a lot of the preachers, teachers, prophets and priests that were teaching the creation versus evolution battle were King James Version onlyists. They believe that the only Bible one shouldeth readeth iseth the King of Jameth's Bibleths. So the two great, in the Bible, the story about the fruit, by their fruits ye shall know them. So the fruits of the King James Version onlyist movement are these two wonderful books, The Hidden Rainbow, Dangers of the Rainbow. Nothing to do with the LGBTQIA plus rainbow, it's the New Age movement. And so Gail Ripplinger plagiarizes this book, literally plagiarizes this book, so that the Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, the Freemasonic 30th degree, blah, 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 becomes the NIV, the NASB, the New King James. She takes entities like Bohemian Grove and turns them into Bibles. So I have to write on this level of this way out there conspiracy theory. So the fruits of King James Version onlyism, we all know, is kill the gays. I mean, Matt Powell, King James Version onlyist. Stephen L. Anderson, execute the gays. Independent fundamentalist Baptist. New independent fundamentalist Baptists. Because they're a branch, they're a spin-off from the independent fundamentalist Baptists, because they're too angry, too just, you couldn't listen to 1 minute of their sermons without wanting to go up and punch his. I mean, he kicks people out of his church, and he does it in a way where he'll call them out, stand up, you've done this, this, and this behind my back, get out of my church. I mean, it's a mess. So we all know the fruits of King James Version onlyism is Stephen L. Anderson, Barry Smith, Kent Hovind, Gail Ripplinger, etc., etc. So I guess, even though, so I was only brainwashed by Gail Ripplinger for, I'd say a week. Again, if it wasn't for James White, who is my hero, I would have, this is ridiculous, I would have thrown my Greek texts out, all my Hebrew texts, my Coptic texts, I would have thrown them out and just stuck with the King James Bible. I came that close. And if I hadn't stumbled across the debunking of the King James Version onlyist movement, I would have become a full-blown King James Version onlyist at the time. So we're talking 2008, 2009. So the hero of my story, the whole solar system is being ripped because the King James Version onlyist, let's call it that. Okay, we'll stick Ken Ham. He's not, I don't know what Bible Ken Ham uses. So we'll stick Ken Ham as a, what's the word? Honorary. NIBF, New Independent, NIBFB, fundamental, We'll give him an honorary NIFB position. So that the whole solar system is being split in two because the Stephen L. Anderson, the NIFB, believes that they are right and every other denomination in the world is wrong. Stephen L. Anderson teaches that if a Christian was reading the New International Version, which is up there under a stack of other books, you aren't saved. You're still going to hell. If you read a Bible that's not the King, this is their teaching, if you read a Bible that's not the King James Version, then you're going to hell because you don't receive salvation. You can only receive salvation from the King James Version only. And when I say that, I don't mean the original 1611, because the English in that is just so foreign. We're looking at an F. I get it confused. I think it's an S that's shaped like an F. And just the words are just so hard to read. Like double, not, this isn't true, but it's just an example. Say if double has two B's, something like that. So you're trying to read a sentence and you're like, it's just this isn't working. So, okay, so the whole solar system is being split into two because it's a war between New Independent Fundamentalist Baptists and the rest of the solar system. All right, okay, that's cool. That nails it down. That gives me Gail Ripplinger. It gives me Constance Cumby. It gives me Barry Smith. It gives me Kent Hovind. And Kent Hovind I can use as a link to Ken Ham. So you must believe in creationism, as the NIFB and all King James Version onlyists believe. And therefore, it's God's universe, therefore you can't be gay. Because passages in the King James are vaguely hinting at something. If you get into the Hebrew or the Greek, then no, it says something completely different. But that's nothing to do with us. We're just making shapes. So, rabble. So, the hero, okay, so I can't get my head around this yet, but the hero is born sexually ambiguous. Either neither male nor female or has both, intersex. But then again, I've written another story about a boy that goes into a cave and reads this great, deciphers this code on the wall, and through that code he becomes a girl. That was a story I wrote when I was personally transitioning, coming out of myself. So the dragon story and the wolf story were about me coming out from within myself. So this is kind of different. This is more up to date. But it's a possibility. It might be easier to explain to an audience that the boy in the story becomes a girl by the end of the 5th book, book 5. I'm not going to J.K. Rowling. I'd like to. I think it might. See, the thing is, the first book is Sumeria, the Sumerian, Akkadian, Mesopotamian kingdoms. So that's questioning the Garden of Eden, existence of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Hammurabi codes. Book 2 is about Greece, Alexander the Great, through to the foundations of Athens and the Homer's Iliad, Odyssey, blah blah blah. Book 3 is Rome. So we're not doing Julius Caesar, we're not doing Augustus Caesar, we're doing Tiberius Caesar, because it was Tiberius. Now I have to reword this now. It was Tiberius Caesar that ruled while the making of the story about Jesus was happening. No, it wasn't. That's not even true, because it was written about 50 AD. Well, yeah, see, I've got to restart, because if Jesus wasn't a real person, then how can you put a point back in time to which emperor was in power? But we'll use Tiberius. I don't know. We don't have to. Change all that. So, right, okay. And then we've got, okay, this is the hardest part. The Middle Ages is I don't want to even do the Middle Ages, because we're talking about the Spanish Inquisition. We're talking about killing witches, all the bad stuff, you know. It was pretty shit time on planet Earth. So I might just skip that. I might go China, and then I want to do the Mayan, the Aztecs. So I might skip Middle Ages, because I've got this book here, The Growth of the Spanish Inquisition, which goes into detail how Torquemada literally like ripped people's guts out, and it's disgusting what they did. It's disgusting. Obviously, I've never read this book because it's so painful to read. But I might do it. It's Witchcraft and the Inquisition. I mean, this is a disgusting book. I've had that the longest, I think. So, okay, I'm babbling again. So, in the process of getting the solar system out of King James Version onlyism into facts, the Bible as text, the collation of the Bible, the history of the Bible, from fiction, King James Version onlyism, fiction or fantasy, or as I call it, impossible lunacy, to get the solar system back into facts of science. COVID really does exist. It is a disease. You have to wear a mask. And by the time I write the book, we won't even remember we went through all this. But we are now. So reality is that we did land on the moon, that planets do exist. So you've got to have these two lines. So the moon is fake. We live on a flat Earth. That's line one. The moon is real. We landed on the moon. We are searching the solar system out. That's line two. So I guess I am keeping everything has always been since 2001. Everything's still kept the same basically, but it's just altered differently, because when I started this, the Bible was on line one and the world was on line two. The world was full of lies and run by Satan. So the lines have swapped since I came out of fundamentalist Christian charismatic Pentecostalism. Right, okay, I'm still babbling. So, to take back King James Version onlyism, to get rid of it, she has to visit, or he or she, whatever gender, it, they, them, we, us, has to visit these planets. And it doesn't have to be our solar system, it could be anywhere. And so on each of these planets is a plutonic shape. Now I've finally got to what I want to talk about. So there's 5 platonic shapes. There's a triangle, square, blah, blah, blah. Haven't written it down, so I don't know. So on each planet they discover, again, that's the thing, eh? It's Avengers, Infinity Stones. But these, I don't want to rip off anybody's idea. But, so they find these sacred stones on each planet. And once they've collected the 7 stones, then the solar system is put back in order. So we're going to make 5 of the shapes today. Finally got to what I was wanting to talk about. We're going to make 5 shapes today, and I'm adding 2, because it's my fictional universe, I'm adding 2 more. Number 6 is a sphere, to represent planet Earth, to represent the battle between flat Earth and round Earth. Not that it is a battle, but I mean, flat Earth is dying. I was going to start to write flat Earth jokes for a comedy act, but it's dead. Basically, Nathan's been in and out of prison. The other Nathan is getting a visit from the police. It's just disgusting what they're doing, because they've just completely lost out. They've gone all trumped. And the 7th one, thanks to Christina, is an oval or an egg. So I have to buy something that's egg-shaped. I'm going to buy a tennis ball. I'm going to buy an egg-shaped thing. So this is the one that you'll see in the last book. So there's going to be 7 books? Oh God. Short, they don't have to be long. They can be mini stories. Yeah, let's do a Captain Underpants mini story thingy. So, The other shapes are going to come from here. So I bought myself some splashed out on some cardboard, pretty colours, and I'm going to string them up over the green screen, turn them a little bit and capture it. The reason is, okay, so I'm coming out of religion. I still don't have access to all my brain, so I can't draw. This would be so simple. On the computer, I can't just go into Blender and make a hexagon. It just, my mind just can't cope with it. So I've decided, stuff it. I'm just going to cut them out on paper. And yeah, so let's go.